I'm Rana Shanhabi from United Arab Emirates University. Today I'm going to present about water scarcity, water pollution as a global environmental challenge and its possible global solutions. Water, water everywhere but not a drop to drink. These words are taken from Samuel Taylor's famous poem. To the Samuel words represent the actual story behind them. Samuel really hit the nail on head. The issue today is not there is no enough water on Earth. In fact, the UNESCO study found that there is nearly 1.4 billion kilometer water on Earth. The issue is 97% of that 1.4 billion kilometer is not safe for human consumption. For this another reason, 780 million people lack access to clean water, that in 1 in 9 people on the planet. When was the first time we thought about the importance of water during the ongoing Californian and Middle East drought, the famous Australian drought, 1815s before Christ when? Indeed, we were very smart, recording from the very beginning as we develop our major civilizations around big rivers, rivers like Tigris and Euphrates, Nile, Indus and Yellow. Water is the most essential element of life. We need it for drinking, we need it for sanitation, we need it to produce food, and we need it to generate power and cool our power stations. We need it to maintain our ecosystem services. So, what's going to happen with the growing population? We already have problems with water. Not everyone has access to clean water. 15% of the world population lack access to clean water. That number is 50% in sub-Saharan Africa. So, what's going to happen with the growing population? Already have problems with water. Not everyone has access to water. 15% of the world population lack access to clean water. That number is 50% in sub-Saharan Africa. The modern people, the developed ones, also changing their diet. Ironically, they prefer meat to vegetable, the unhealthy food. That means 15,000 liters of water instead of 2,000 liters of water per kg of food. So to feed the 2 billion extra people joining us on the planet in next 2 decades, we need to raise 60% more water. We're already bankrupt. We don't have too much water. The modern people, the developed one, also changing their diet. Ironically, they preferred meat to vegetable, the unhealthy food. That means 15,000 liters of water instead of 2,000 liters of water per kg of food. So to feed 2 billion extra people joining us on the planet in next 2 decades, we need to raise 60% more water. We're already bankrupt. We don't have too much water. We have to increase the water withdrawal by 50% in developing countries and 18% developed countries in next 2 decades. The planet is getting dried. Water is becoming more scarce. 2 billion people are expected to live in dry areas of the planet in 2025 with extreme water scarcity. We are already exhausted our surface water sources. Lakes are going dry, rivers are going dry, and now we are tapping our groundwater, the fastest resource which is not going to replenish. Do you think it's the end of the story? Actually not. Water have no political boundaries. We set the political boundaries without paying attention to the water boundaries. Water drafts want to move freely from one location to another. They don't have passports, so we cannot ask them visas. So what's going to happen when more than one country is managing the same water source? Actually, there are 148 countries sharing 276 river basins. So it doesn't matter you are an upstream or downstream. You are going to maximize your use by building dams and other water reservoirs and minimize your outflow. So it is going to create a competition. Some people saying it's beyond the competition. It will take to a scary situation. So it will take world into war in futures. A former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan said, the farthest competition over water might end up in war. Boutros Ghali, another US Secretary General, he said water can become more important and significant than oil and Middle East might experience a war over water. The former Vice President of World Bank thought that 21st century's wars will be fought over water. Water pollution occurs when any undesirable unwanted material is discharged into water that contaminate the water quality for its other users. Now I'm going to explain here the two major water pollutants and their impact on the planet. So let's start with the plastic. Plastic was invented by John Wesley in 1869. It's the only product that never decomposed in terms of a 1 gram since its invention time. Every year we're adding 8 million metric tons to the oceans. And this, with the same magnitude, this figure will reach to 12.7 million metric tons in 2025. The biodegradability of plastic is started after 700 years and it takes 1000 years to biodegrade it. The plastic bonds may tie up to marine organisms and may cause physical damage. It might cause extremely or internally to block their digestive tract. It may intermingle with legs, wings, or fins and make them less fragile and unable to move and ultimately reduce their foraging abilities. Plastic is never biodegradable. It is photodegradable material. During photodegradation, it releases chemicals that are injurious to living organisms. This graph shows the seabirds' history that ingested more than 0.1 gram of plastic from three different parts of the ocean. Actually, 0.1 gram plastic ingestion is the maximum potential limit that can cause no harms to its ingesters. Excess might cause breeding and feeding difficulties, but the graph shows that more than 50% birds have already ingested more than 0.1 gram of plastic. But the story is not end up here. Plastic production ramped up from 1.5 million tons to 322 million tons in 2015. About 8.6% increase in production is happening in every year. If it's going to continue in this century, it will be enough to cause the death of the whole marine life. Is the story ends up here? No. Plastic production ramped up from 1950 from 1.5 million tons to 322 million tons in 2015. About 8.6% increase in production is happening in every year. If it's going to increase in the same way, at the end of century, we will produce enough production of the plastic to cause the death of the whole marine life. If we compare the major producers of plastic from 2006 to 2015, China is exceeding at a top-rate country. Dead zone, hypoxic or oxygen-depleted areas are formed every year and ends up in the same years on the base of seasonal rotation. Dead zones are increasing enormously in number and in size continuously due to agriculture expansion and use of nitrogen-based fertilizers. This graph shows the increase in fertilizer production from 2009 to 2017. The production is increasing 2% every year to feed the increasing population of the globe, and this increase leads towards number of dead zones in our aquatic sources. This graph shows the number of dead zones found in our coastal areas that tremendously increase in their concentration. In 1910, we only identified 10 dead zones, but now in 2010 their number is rises from 500. Now in this half of the presentation I'm going to present some global solution to tackle with the water scarcity and to deal with the water pollution, especially in terms of plastic and dead zones. So there are people on our planet that have to spend 40 billion hours to collect the clean water. Taking this perspective, these 40 billion hours is equal to the entire labor force of the United Kingdom. Consider what these people can do for the economies of their countries and in the education sector if they have not spent these hours to collect water. Water is also negatively impacting the health of these people. Every minute, a newborn baby is going to be die because of water-borne diseases. Around 28,900 children under 5 die every year from diarrhea disease caused by poor sanitation. That's almost 800 children per day, or 1 children every 2 minutes. Water is incredibly related to poverty. Half of all the peoples using dirty water lives in sub-Saharan Africa, where daily average income is less than $3 per day. Water and poverty are linked in education as well. Every year, 443 million school days are lost from water-related illness. Poverty is also incredibly linked to wastewater treatment that can substantially increase the water production in water-stressed areas. The graph shows comparison between low and high income countries for the current wastewater treatment percentage. So the world must has to pay his attention to increase the economy of these countries. By increasing economy, we can not only increase the production of the wastewater treatment, but we can also put positive impact on the on the education and health sector as well. Agriculture is one of the major freshwater using sector in the world. The changing climate is urging to develop or find out new agriculture practices. One of them is genetically modified crops that required many times less water than traditional crops. Modern agriculture practices like underwater dripping, plastic covering the soil, and to grow crops, house straws or stems can cover the ground, can substantially decrease the water requirement for agriculture purposes. What will be the fate of this plastic bottle that we are going to throw into the ocean? The water currents will carry this bottle and take it into the garbage patch. There are 5 garbage patches in the ocean. Each patch is known as a gyre. These are the 5 gyres that named after their representative oceans. How much plastic is found in these gyres? The researchers estimate that there are 720 million ton plastic is found in these gyres. Can we leave this plastic into these jars? No, we can't leave this plastic into these jars because after 700 years, this plastic is going to photodegrade, and after photodegradation, it is going to change into the microplastic, and microplastic is is going to become the part of the food chain, and it is as much lethal as the bigger plastic. So must need to extract it from these jars. There are some campaigns already working to extract plastic from these jars. One of them is the ocean cleanup campaign, and they are also willing to participate anyone from the world who is going to join them. These are some basic tips that we can use in our daily life in order to reduce the plastic consumption. Dead zones, the silent killer of ocean life, is now an emerging global problem for the world. In 1960, there was only 49 dead zones were identified, but in 2013, the numbers reached above 400. If this trend continues with the same speed, the world will deprive from the most of its coastal life in few upcoming decades. Dead zones are reversible. If we will succeed to cut down the fertilizer runoff into the waters, we can stop most of the world dead zones. Industrial and municipal wastewater spills a lot of nutrient into the water stream that ultimately reach to the ocean. We need to recycle these nutrients or properly treat the wastewater. Atmospheric sources of nitrogen also contribute to dead zones. Fossil fuels and fertilizers release nitrogen into the atmosphere. This nitrogen redeposited on land and water through water cycle like rain or snow. In developed nations like US and Europe, heavy use of animal manures and commercial fertilizers are the main contributor to the dead zones. Runoff from large agricultural fields enter creeks and bays because of rain. In developing nations like Latin America and Africa, untreated wastewater from sewage and industry mainly contribute to the dead zones. Wetlands can play a crucial role to decrease the number of dead zones in the world. They reduce the chances of flooding because the soil absorbs water, which in turn reduces the soil erosion. Wetlands can help remove nutrients, especially nitrates, through the process of denitrification, which help prevent eutrophication. In wetlands, plants' growth is very fast and the rate of decomposition is very slow comparatively. So the plant dead tissues can store nutrients for a long time. In short, wetlands are extremely important in helping filter out excess of a lot of nutrients. At the end, I will must conclude my presentation with Mr. Wilson's words. He said, "We are letting nature slip through our fingers. It's happening on our watch, it's happening quickly. Since nature is resilient, one way or the other, life will go on. The real problem is that nature may let us slip through her fingers. We have a chance to get it right, though we don't have too much time."